44% of Americans say they are very satisfied with the way things are going in their personal life, the lowest by 2 percentage points in Gallup's trend dating back to 2001. This also marks the continuation of a decline in personal satisfaction since January 2020, when the measure peaked at 65%. It's clear that the world doesn't seem too bright lately, depending on how you look at it. Maybe you felt it too, a sense that things aren't perfect or that you're not quite measuring up. But what if those very imperfections aren't flaws at all, but hidden strengths? This short but powerful story of a crackpot teaches a lesson we all need to hear. Even our imperfections can serve a greater purpose. And sometimes, what we see as weakness is actually making the world more beautiful in ways we don't even realize. Watch this heartwarming story. Be reminded that you don't have to be perfect to make a difference. This story isn't just about a pot. It's about you and how the cracks in your life can actually help you untap your potential. Welcome to Untapping Your Potential, where we will share with you motivational stories, motivational figures, comeback stories, and public speaking tips that will keep you growing and inspire you to take action. There once lived a water carrier. Every morning, as soon as the sun rose, she walked from her home to collect water in 2 earthen pots that hung from a long pole that she carried across her shoulders. One pot was perfectly formed. The other, although the same shape and size, its counterpart had a crack on its side. So whenever they returned to the water carrier's house, it was only ever half full. For years, the water carrier repeated her journey to and from her house, collecting water from the river. As the years passed by, the crackpot created a story in its head about its level of worthiness and inability to properly perform the job for which it had been created. Eventually, the pain and shame that it felt about its own imperfection became too much for it to bear. So one day, as the water carrier knelt beside the river and began her usual task of filling the pots with the water, the crackpot found its voice and said, "I am so sorry. For years and years, I have watched you fill me with water, and I can only imagine what a fruitless task it must be for you. As whenever we return home, I'm only ever half full. While in comparison, the other pot is perfect. Rarely does it lose a drop of water on our long walk back to our home. But me, I am far from perfect. This crack in my side, not only does it cause me so much hurt and shame, but it must also cause you to want to get rid of me. Surely I'm making only things long, arduous job that you do each day that much more difficult. I can understand if you're only thinking of getting rid of me and replacing me with another perfectly formed pot." The water carrier listened to these words with both care and compassion. The crackpot story of unworthiness and shame was not one that she recognized, for this was not what she thought of the pot. Oh, she knew about the crack, but did not see it as an imperfection or as something that was less worthy than the other pot that hung from her shoulder. Gently, she turned to the pot and said, "On our return walk home, I want you to look up and to the side of you. For too long, it would seem you have been looking down, comparing yourself to others, and not noticing how you and the crack that you have on your side has brought untold beauty into my life." Puzzled, the crackpot wondered what on earth her words meant. She seemed to be suggesting that its story of lack, unworthiness, and shame was in some way faulty. As to how this could be, it could not be comprehended. However, the crackpot trusted the water carrier, and it occurred to it that in all that time that it had journeyed with her, she had never said a harsh word, never scorned or ridiculed her, but had always shown a sense of gratefulness and care when filling its water. So on the return journey, it heeded the water carrier's words. It looked up and it looked out. It had not noticed that along the path that they traveled, there was a dazzling array of beauty, color, and life. The water carrier, in her wisdom, knowing of the crack in the pot's side, had sprinkled seeds along the path. These seeds were duly watered every day, and as a result of the crack on the pot's side and the path that had once been barren and devoid of life, was now resplendent with an array of beautiful wild flowers. Now the cracked pot understood. Now the crackpot began to see itself in a new light. Now it understood that indeed it had been telling itself a faulty story. If its experience of being a crackpot was going to change, then it would have to change the story that it was telling itself. Author and storyteller Jeff Mead put it like this: we need to consider how our lives are shaped by the stories we tell ourselves about who we are and what we are here for, because knowing our story is an essential prerequisite to claiming our personal authority and to making our unique and authentic contribution as leaders. Just like the crackpot, you might sometimes feel like your own cracks or imperfections make you feel less valuable. You might even put a lot of pressure on yourself to be perfect. But this story should show you something powerful, that your problems or your so-called imperfections don't hinder how beautiful you are. In fact, it can actually help you positively influence those around you in surprising ways. And here's how to start seeing things in your own strength. 1. Reframe your flaws as features. That thing you criticize yourself for, it might be your greatest contribution. Ask, what have I been ashamed of that might actually be a gift to others? You are not flawed. You are uniquely formed for a purpose. Number 2, focus on the impact, not the image. Look, the crackpot didn't look perfect, but it was nurturing beauty in every day. Look, stop chasing perfection and start paying attention to the difference you make, even in small ways. Imagine you spend hours trying to get the perfect photo for social media, checking every angle, using filters, and maybe even deleting dozens of shots because your hair isn't just right or your smile looks a little off. Think about the crackpot. It wasn't perfect, but it quietly made beautiful flowers bloom every day. You could ask yourself, what difference can I make today? Even if it's just a small thing. That doesn't need a filter or a perfect photo. Maybe it's helping a friend with their homework, volunteering for a cause you care about, creating something unique just for the joy of it, or making someone laugh when they're having a bad day. These small actions create real positive change and make true impact, which is far more powerful than any perfect image. Don't judge yourself by the pieces you lost, but by what you're still capable of giving. And number 3, share your story. Our imperfections connects us to others. Be open about your struggles. Your honesty might help someone bloom. Imagine you're going through a tough time, and maybe you're really stressed about school, feeling anxious about making new friends, or just struggling with something personal that feels embarrassing or hard to talk about. You see everyone's lives look perfect on social media or in person, and you feel like you're the only one going through this. Because you're scared of being judged or seem weak, you keep everything bottled up inside. And just like the crackpot, it's those unique parts of you that can connect deeply with others. You could ask yourself, who might need to hear that they're not alone? How could my honest story help them? Maybe by talking to a trusted friend or a family member, or even sharing a vague but honest post online about a hard day. You might give someone else the courage to open up. God uses broken people like you and me to do beautiful things. Jamie Ivey. Thanks for watching this video. How would you like to hear more motivational stories consistently? Do me a favor and support the channel by sharing and commenting below. And please make sure to like and hit that subscribe button to get the latest update. Soon, you will be on your way to feeling inspired.